Okay then, so it's Dan from Select Driving School here. I'd just like to give you some tips about hazard perception and how to try and get the most out of your practice sessions and maximise your score, whilst also understanding the underlying purpose of the hazard perception and how it's going to help you in your day-to-day life once you've passed your driving test. So, in terms of practicing for your driving test theory, I recommend the Driving Theory for All application, which you can find via a link on my website. We're going to cover today, say a quick introduction, quick overview of the theory test, talk about how the video clips work, give you an explanation of some of the hazards, tips for good test technique, some of the technical issues you might have, and then we're going to have a little bit of a practice. And obviously we're not going to do Q&As within the video, but you're welcome to leave me comments on the video or via my Facebook page. So the theory test, first of all, consists of two parts. You've got the questions, which are based on the highway code and good driving practice. So you have 50 multiple choice questions, of which you've got to answer them in 57 minutes, getting a pass mark of 43 out of 50. We're not going to talk too much about that today, but suffice to say that if you practice properly and revise, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to pass this quite easily. But the hazard perception, that's what I want to concentrate on today. So that consists of 14 video clips with a maximum score of 75, so that's 5 points per hazard. Now the reason why that's not 70 is because one of the video clips contains 2 hazards, so it's worth 10 points maximum. The other 13 are 5, so that's 65 points plus your 10 makes 75. You need to score 44, which means if you spot every single hazard, you're scoring an average of just 3 per hazard to score. The current cost is £23. Be wary of any scam websites out there. You can apply by post or phone, but most people these days are going to do it via the internet. If you want to make sure that you get to the correct website and don't get a chance of being scammed, then if you go to this page on my website, it will take you through to the booking page for the theory test. Okay then, so let's move on. So first of all, about the video clips. They are now created using CGI, and they do regularly update them so they can reflect all kinds of weather conditions, and they have some real life footage on there as well, but where they want things to be happening, those are generated via CGI. Now what this does mean is that there is an element of they're not completely photorealistically real, so you may see a little bit of jerkiness in the way the figures are moving, etc. In terms of people, but don't allow that to put you off. At the end of the day, you are there to just try and identify the situation and the fact that a hazard is occurring. As well as hazard perception, they are also used for advanced driver training, so they have an accompanying narrative, but that's been removed for the hazard perception, so they are silent. You're not going to hear anything whilst you're watching the clips. They show typical driving situations covering town, residential, rural, main road, dual carriageway, motorway settings. They're also going to take in various weather conditions. Snowy conditions could be shown on there, and heavy rain and fog. Each clip will last about 1 minute. You are required to click when you spot hazards, and you will score depending on how well you hit the scoring window. So for example, on this one, I've clicked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and my score will be 4 because my first click within the window was at the 4 mark. The second click was on a 3, but I will get the higher one. Okay, so the hazards explained. There are rarely any examples of truly dangerous driving, so you're not really expecting to see any sort of stunt driving or ridiculous situations, but you are seeing everyday situations which may cause a collision if you don't properly act upon them or anticipate them. So people stepping out from the side of the road, cars pulling out, maybe somebody taking a wrong line for a roundabout, cyclists, etc. There are some common hazards that you can look out for, and some of these you could expect to happen. So some common hazards would be oncoming traffic. So if you're in a narrow country lane, you find yourself in a narrow lane, then anticipate that as you come around some of these bends there will be oncoming traffic, and that will require you to slow down. Or pedestrians at crossings. So if you look into the distance and you see a pedestrian crossing, then chances are there are going to be some people coming up to use that, and again, if you're driving well, you will be slowing down before you get there. Motorways. So motorway slip roads are common hazards. So as you're coming along the main carriageway, you'll see a slip road ahead and you'll see traffic approaching that and wanting to pull on. So again, you should be adjusting your speed and position and maybe your lane in order to make it easier for them to pull on. And in the video clips you may find people coming on a little bit late, and that's what's causing the driver in the video to take some form of evasive action. Buses. Now, if you watch out for buses, whenever you see a bus ahead, you want to consider what the bus is likely to do. So it's likely to pull in and stop, in which case you're going to have to slow down and see whether it's safe to go around. Also anticipate the fact that passengers could be stepping on and off that bus. Or if the bus is ahead of you and already at a stop, anticipate that the signal will change to a right hand signal and it will want to pull out. And again, you shouldn't be making it difficult for the bus to pull out, you should be allowing that to happen. So again, slowing down and allowing the bus to pull out into its path and get on its journey. Cars pulling into your path, again this is common, so you might see a T-junction, or in this case a service slip road, and as you're coming down towards it, a car pulls out, maybe taking a little bit of a chance, but again, if you've anticipated that, you'll already be slowing down and not get into an emergency braking situation, which at the end of the day is the purpose of the hazard perception. It's there for you to avoid having to do emergency stops on frequent occasions. And finally, cyclists. So again, watch out for cyclists. You're going to find them on narrow roads, country roads, or in this case it looks like a residential road, but you've got a parked car on your left and you've got two cyclists coming towards you. You wouldn't want to be moving out around that parked car because it would put you too close to the oncoming cyclists. So in the same way as you'd wait for a car here, you should be holding back, letting the cyclists come through first. So, as I say, the hazards that score are those that would result in a collision if you ignored them. So there are going to be lots of hazards in video, potentially, potential hazards, and if you spot those and you click for them, you're not going to lose any marks, but equally you won't score anything for clicking on a hazard that they haven't intended to be the scoring hazard. The clips do, as I said, cover a wide variety of driving conditions, but in my opinion some are easier than others. Those in the country or on open roads I think are slightly easier to review because there's not as much going on, but then when you get into sort of the busy high street situations, they can be more difficult because there's a lot more for you to monitor. So a couple again examples here. So here we have a nice open country road. You should be able to anticipate what's going to happen here. It's going to be oncoming traffic as you go around the bend, or it could be horses or people or cyclists in the road, or farm traffic. Again, on the motorway, I mentioned this earlier, the likelihood is going to be traffic pulling on from a side road, from a slip road. So again, you can anticipate it. You're all going in one direction, not as much to keep an eye out for. But then when we get into the town centre, city centre situations, there's a lot more going on. So here, for example, we can see a cyclist, we can see a bus to our left, another bus ahead, we have a taxi, you see moving lanes, we've got pedestrians, we're coming up to a bend, there's possibly a pedestrian crossing just around that bend. So a lot more going on for you to try and think about what could happen, and again, potentially you're going to be clicking more often there, which again will be allowed as long as you don't click in a way that's considered to be cheating, which I'm going to be talking about in a moment. So some tips for how to practice and do the test itself. So initially when you're going to be practicing it, there will be the facility to practice your hazard perception. Now when you're doing this, there'll also be the option at the end of each clip for you to review it, and this will get you used to the style of the videos, and also it'll show you the scoring windows. So it'll give you an idea of where you clicked and how your clicks compare to the scoring window that they have determined. When you see a potential hazard, click straight away. Don't wait to confirm to yourself that it's a scoreable hazard, because by the time that you know that it's scoreable, it's already too late, because you should already be stopping by this time and your score will be low and possibly even 0. As your experience grows, you should be able to anticipate what the hazard might be earlier in the clip, and this could make it easier for you to score high. However, don't fall into the trap of concentrating too much on one thing and thinking that that's what's going to happen when it turns out to be something else, and also try not to guess. Maximize your scoring chance when you click, and by this I mean when you click a hazard you should click once and then click again about a second later. So that's click, click. Okay. And this is going to help you avoid you missing out when you spot the hazard, but maybe you spot it slightly earlier than they think you should be able to. You click, but you've clicked maybe half a second before they think it's possible. If you don't click again, you're actually going to score nothing for that hazard, and obviously that's going to impact your chances of passing and be very frustrating. So if you click and then click again, so click, click, then if your first click was a bit too early, your second click should score you a 4 or a 3. Whereas if your first click was, say, a 5 and your second click is a 3, you will score the 5, so you won't score lower by clicking in a lower band, having already clicked in the higher band. But as I say, the extra clicks will help you assure a good score, but don't over click and don't click rhythmically. So by clicking rhythmically, it would be something like this: click, 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 and yeah, you're just trying to guess. Or alternately, you get to a hazard and you go click, 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 click. That's going to be too much clicking. If you do that on any clip, you will see at the end of that clip a big red cross, and it will tell you that you clicked inappropriately for that clip, and you will score 0. Obviously that gives you an idea as to what you were doing that is not acceptable, and obviously you should try to stop that, else again your chances of passing are going to be very low. If you don't see the big red X, then whatever you're doing is acceptable, and hopefully it's also going to be scoring at the correct times. So, some more tips. Remember, you do not have to move the mouse to click on the hazard area. All you have to do is click the mouse just to show that you have spotted something. It doesn't matter where the cursor is on the screen. Don't forget to keep concentrating for the second hazard in all clips, as you never know when it will appear, and missing it will cost you 5 points. So even if you think, oh right, I've done it on this clip, keep concentrating for the next one, because you might find that you've got the 2 hazards in that particular video. You are going to have to put a lot of practice in, and if you're practicing on a desktop PC, or even if you're practicing on your phone or a tablet, you might find that trying to hold anything in one position is going to cause aching. You can relieve some of this by skipping the countdowns, so that you're not having to spend quite as much time, and vary your grip on the mouse or the device, so that you're not necessarily straining, creating RSI. It's the click that matters, not where the pointer is. And finally, you must try and aim high for your scores. The pass mark is 44 out of 75, which is an average of just about 3 per hazard if you get every single hazard. But when you're practicing, don't satisfy yourself with scores of 3, as you're going to feel more under pressure by the time of your test. And if you underperform, you will fail. If you try and make sure that the majority of your hazards when you're practicing are 4 and above, then you should fly through the real thing, even if nerves affect you. Okay then, so very quickly, a few common technical frustrations. When I've been using the app, I haven't found any bugs or anything, but I have found some frustrations. Depending on what device you're using, you may find that the screen resolution is not that brilliant for distant hazards, and that might make them unrecognisable at the higher end of the scoring window, and you might feel a bit cheated. Don't let that worry you for when you come to the test. The video quality at the test centre is very good, as are the screens that they use, so you shouldn't have that issue when you're using this equipment at the test centre. The scoring windows are based on the judgment of a panel of experts. Sometimes they may appear inconsistent. Some windows may seem too long and some too short, or some badly timed. If you feel this is the case, don't fight the system. Instead, review the video and look objectively at the clip and ask yourself if you could have picked up on other clues. So are there other things happening in the video that you could have used to help you spot the hazard at a different time, rather than just concentrating specifically on what happens. If you're running this particularly on a desktop, or on a device that's not got enough RAM, etc., then try not to have lots of other apps, etc., open, because it might mean that the videos run a bit jerkily, and again, that's going to prevent you from scoring well. So I'm going to move on to a little bit of practice now. If you want to get in touch with me to ask anything about this, then there's a few of the ways you can do that. Facebook, via my website, email, or you can find my YouTube channel. Hopefully you're watching this video currently, and pick up on a few things there and get in contact with me that way. But we're going to have a look at a bit of practice now. So first of all, as I said earlier, my website has got a driving theory training page, as well as giving you access to the Driving Theory for All app that I talked about earlier. There are also a few other things to help you with your theory app. If you are dyslexic, for example, you may find that the Colour Academy books are a novel way of learning your theory. There's a website there that you could look at to see if that's something that helps yourself. But also, if you want to just have a few free hazard perception videos, then this link here will take you to a website that has just some hazard perception videos on it, and there are 6 that you can use. So we're going to click to that now, and we have 6 free videos that you could have a go at. In fact, they've added a few more. So in fact, they've added some mock tests, so there you go, there's quite a bit there. Oh no, sorry, you've got to become premium to look at those. Apologies, I didn't think they were free. But you have got a few tests here, so you can see there's a country road one there. That's looks like an out of town, sort of outskirts of a town. Here we're in a town centre, motorway at night, motorway during the day, and an icy road. So I'm going to do a video now. I've not done this one before, so I'm seeing it for the first time as well, so see how well I can do on it. We're going to do the motorway one. So we're going to click on that, and it opens up onto another page, and then gives you the option to click start. And then once I've clicked start, I'm going to put it onto full screen, and I'm going to talk you through what I'm looking at, what I'm clicking, when I'm clicking, and we'll see how we score at the end of it. So 3, 2, 1, make it full screen. So on the motorway now, immediately what we can see here is that the amber warning lights are on above the matrix signs, and they're warning us that we should be down to 50 miles an hour. We've got the chevrons here, and they're telling us to keep at least 2 chevrons between us. It looks like a dry day, so 2 chevrons should be enough, but on this occasion the lorry's keeping we're keeping 4 chevrons back from the lorry. We're in the left-hand lane now. There's a car on the left there, so we're just going to click because that could be our hazard. He's pulling on, so we're going to click again. Okay, and he's going to pull on in front of us, so I've clicked in total 4 times there, which you can see up on the left hand side. He's pulled on not in the ideal manner, as you notice there. He should have got himself fully up to speed in the hard shoulder before he tried to move on, but he only got up to, well, we were in a 50 mile an hour zone, which we'd already slowed down to, and we had to slow down further, so it looks like we got down to about 30 miles an hour there. And as you can see, in terms of my clicks there, I scored 4, so we're going to click on it for explanation, and this should show us the scoring window, and it tells us here, so we're driving along the left hand lane of the motorway. You see a stationary vehicle on the hard shoulder up on the left. When you first see the vehicle, it's regarded as a potential hazard since it's stationary, and it won't cause you to change as won't cause you to change speed or direction. However, the closer you get, it starts to move and indicates. So I clicked when I saw it there, okay, and that was slightly too early, and then it started moving, and I only just appreciated that it was moving at that point, so I got the 4. But as you can see, in terms of my clicks, I clicked once here, then I clicked there on the light green, which would have been a 4-pointer, but I clicked again about a second later. That would have been a 2-pointer, so had I clicked slightly too early the first time, I would have still at least scored 2 points. And my last click as he pulled on would have been too late for me to really do anything. So if I had not noticed this car before this point, I would have probably been jumping on my brakes quite hard, and that obviously would have been effectively an emergency stop. So you can see here the idea is that we spot it early and start to slow down and back off rather than spotting it late. So I hope you found that useful. As you can see, there are lots of resources that you can use, and hopefully this video has given you an idea of how to practice. As I say, if you have any questions, then please contact me via any of the means there, and I'll be happy to help. If you found the video useful, then please click like, and also if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would also be good as well. Thank you and good night.